at Blackmagic checking out more cameras.
More cameras.
This is getting to be a regular thing for you guys now.
Well, we don't want to disappoint anybody. So.
All right, so first year, you announced one camera. Second year, you announced two cameras. Now you're coming out with even more cameras.
Yep.
Still aimed at unique markets.
Yeah.
And so you guys have some really interesting stuff. Really no cameras I've seen of any of these designs. So let's get started. You got your broadcast camera. Tell us who this is aimed for and what kind of features it has.
Sure. Well, just to dig up a little of that historical, when we created these first cameras, we were talking about content creation. We looked at kind of having that DSLR form factor and being able to go out there and do these creative shoots and have this amazing post-production workflow. Came out with $3,000. Hope people like it. Explodes. People love them. They go crazy. They get used everywhere because they become so price effective or cost effective. We lower the price to $2,000. They just get used everywhere. But as that continued to go, and we obviously came out with our pocket camera and our 4K cameras, we started to think, well, we could actually build some better fit-to-purpose-based cameras. So this is kind of one of those ideas of, well, if I want to do a live production camera, maybe that's not the best form factor, or maybe those are missing features. So this is what this is. This is our Blackmagic Studio camera, of which we have two versions. We have our HD version, we have our Ultra HD version. So a lot of people with live production are quite happy with HD. That's what they're broadcasting right now. That's what people are happy to move around. You don't need that extra resolution for post like you would with a creative content-based camera. So the HD is a great solution for today. Of course, we did want to create an Ultra HD version as well. All of our ATEMs are upgrading into Ultra HD. It is obviously a big thing of the future. So we have two versions of this. Of course, in typical Blackmagic fashion, the HD version is $2,000 and the Ultra HD version is $3,000. So as long as people know what they're looking for there, they can kind of get the right camera out of the gate. But what you're looking at is a really innovative design. We wanted to create kind of the smallest camera with the largest viewfinder. So it's created.
The main things that you need for a broadcast camera is a good monitor and something to put on the lens on.
The lens on, exactly. So it's a unique looking design, but it's a practical design because we don't need to have a massive camera here. We just need to have a great thing for an operator to be able to work with, and then a lens and something holding the lens up. So that's kind of what the design is about. One of the nice things here is we have this great viewing angle on this large HD screen. We have the push to talk. We have tally built right into the camera. That's going to come over either. We have a fiber in and out, and we have an SDI in and out as well on this. So we have our reference, obviously, because we're doing Genlock. It's got a 4-hour battery, although you're usually obviously going to be tethered. So you do have your 4-pin broadcast power supply on there. XLR with phantom power, because, again, if we're going to be doing a lot of live, there's going to be more phantom power-based needs there. And we're pleased with it. One of the really neat things about this isn't actually a camera feature, but in our new ATEMs, we have color shading in our ATEMs now as well. So being able to have that SDI or fiber in and having an operator back in an ATEM being able to do color shading directly on these studio cameras is a really exciting feature. So again, very fit to purpose. I'm not taking this out into the jungles to do creative content. I'm bringing this, and again, at that price point, we're hoping people will buy several of them to be able to do a really fantastic live production with it.
And by bringing the size of the camera down, a lot of things can be improved upon, like you're using a smaller tripod head than you'd usually use for a studio camera.
Right, that's right. We want to make things, we don't want to create a lot of dead weight here. We want these to be flexible. How many of those ATEMs do we see get put in fly packs? Because they are affordable, it's not something that has to be, well, I've spent a ton of money to be in this one environment all the time. I can jump out in a fly pack, take one of my ATEMs, grab 2 or 4 cameras, get out there and do it a sporting event or a house of worship event, or it doesn't have to be something that is well, we spent so much money, don't move it. We want these to be a flexible and lightweight kind of products that can get out there and do all these live production jobs.
So for people that are new to live production or may have always wanted to do, you get the phone call, can you do a multicam shoot?
Yeah.
I'm new to this, I don't know what I'm doing. What would you need to be up and running for a full package?
So I would say, at a very base level, if someone says, I want you to come in and do a 2-camera shoot, at the end of the day, you need one ATEM. It could be even just one of our original ATEM television studios. Grab 2 of these HD version of the cameras, and you're really good to go. And you can do all of that. If you want it to be more complex, where you want to have push to talk, we've got the aviation headsets, we've got tally. I can communicate back with a director. Do I want multiple people to be operating the ATEM so I can have someone doing color shading and someone's doing graphics and someone's operating? Yeah, that does obviously add on all the costs. So, you can get away with something for as little as $5,000 or sky's the limit, $20, $30, $50,000. But 2 cameras, an 810 television studio, $5,000. Some cable, lenses. So it's not an inexpensive thing to do, but it's certainly competitive with the market out there.
Yeah, and for people that are just getting those requests in either for rental or for purchase, this can bring in a whole new level of multicam accessibility.
Yep.
Now, for people coming from a broadcast background, they're used to maybe the B4 mount lenses. What kind of lenses are going to be on this?
Yeah, so we're using our active micro four thirds on here. We like active micro. We love active micro four thirds for a few reasons. Number one, a lot of times when we're talking about our products, we're always thinking about if someone is starting, how are they going to do this affordably? So back to our how much does it take to get away with this? Well, we're going to need to add a lens here. But Micro Four Thirds have these fantastic glass, they have fantastic optics, but they're still camera lenses. So that's a fantastic cost savings as opposed to having to run out and just buying a B4 lens or something you'd see in the broadcast world. But Micro Four Thirds is also highly adaptable. So we show up in the front of the booth using some of our bigger PL-based lenses, which are more expensive, but they have more of the cable management, zoom, focus, kind of things that more broadcasters would be used to. So being very adaptable and being able to have these really great optics at affordable prices is what makes the Micro Four Thirds so appealing to us.
And we've seen some companies coming out with the active adapters to go with Canon lenses and stuff like that. So even if you've already invested in the Canon series, you want to use a camera like this, you could still then be able to use that crossover and control it from the 810, which is of course the big thing that you need to have.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential in here, and I just think that at these price points, it makes a lot of things more accessible to people, and that's what really gets us excited.
All right, Dan, you guys came out with an innovative camera in the past, but there are still people ringing it out, trying to make it a standard production camera, what they were used to. You guys saw that, you didn't ignore that, and you decided to incorporate that into a completely new camera system.
That's right. Well, we love what that camera can do, and all of those cameras can really do. They do add a lot of value out there. They are a fantastic unit, but they have a form factor that was really meant to be kind of that handheld get out and run and gun. Of course, it's great that it was a tool in the toolbox and people were able to rig it up, but we pretty immediately saw that we had a lot of potential out there for creating a full-sized production camera, and this is kind of what we've done here with URSA. URSA is basically our full-size production camera. It's using the same Super 35mm size sensor as our production camera, so you're going to see all those same stats, 12 stops of dynamic range, global shutter. So we're really pleased that it's the same sensor, because the sensor takes a lot of work and a lot of time to get going. But the whole body is where the magic happens here, and it has all these, it has 3 different screens. Again, back to that large 10-inch viewfinder here, so we can have a director sitting here and working. We've got another touch screen here that was similar to our cinema camera, so we can go ahead and make our adjustments in there. But we also we could build entire other stations. We could have an audio guy over here if we were just working on audio. We could have a focus assist over here if we wanted to be adjusting the focus and seeing the focus peeking through here. And it's just got all the features we expect in the full-size camera. The XLR audios with phantom power, SDI output for if we wanted to have another viewfinder, or an EVF if you were going to do this as a shoulder mount, with power on there as well. It itself has no power. It's got the 12-volt 12-volt power there, and then obviously you can mount these V-mount battery packs to the back as well. Time code, reference, of course our normal SDI. The big thing is this is 12 gig SDI, and the big thing with 12 gig SDI is it allows us to do 60p. So on our other cameras we couldn't do 60p, not only because of the SDI, but because of heat issues. Not that we wouldn't love to, it's the same sensor, it can go up to 60p, but it's a heat thing. This has a liquid cooling system based inside it with just a always running, totally noise silent fan that's just pushing out the warm air. So we have the heat issue addressed, we have the 12 gig SDI. We obviously have these new features within here for the focus peaking, the histogram. We can see how full our cards get on here. These are the new CFast cards. So they're a little bit more expensive. A 120 gig card costs you about $1,200 today. That'll give you about 20 minutes of ProRes or 6 minutes of RAW. So they are expensive. The 240s are probably around the corner, but the nice thing is there's 2 slots on here. So those 2 slots do allow you to have one filling up, and when it fills up, it closes the frame, and the next frame starts on the next card. So in theory, you can have kind of this back and forth as we start pulling cards to have continuous recording. So, while we are looking at the design of basically what is our production 4K camera with a just big, flexible body here, It is a really exciting camera. One of the things that we're really most excited about is the fact that the whole sensor package and lens mount is basically removable. So we don't really want to call it interchangeable, where someone's going to go out and they're going to change that lens mount every day. It does have to have that nice thermal contact in there. But we do want it to be upgradable. So if someone today says, I'm working in my EF base, I have all these EF lenses, I'm working with it in EF base, perhaps later we want to make a B4 version of that. That may be a different sensor. They can upgrade to that and they can make that swap. Or if in 2 years from now we decide, look, we found this other new fantastic sensor, we want to do that, that could be an upgrade that we put out so the body remains the same and we just change the sensor package and lens mount. So pretty unique, pretty exciting. It's a lot of camera. And again, $6,000 for the EF-based version. This is not an unattainable camera to own.
Right, absolutely. So let's talk about some of the things that I know people are going to be asking about.
Sure.
CF cards. First of all, what is the resolution? It does 4K, it does HD too?
Right now we're just showing it with the Ultra HD. I don't believe we've got the HD enabled. I believe it's going to do it, but I'm going to have to check on that as well. Right now I've only been playing with it in the Ultra HD mode.
Okay.
This is an HD resolution monitor, which is nice because it does give you that big full resolution there.
Now, if you were to shoot in HD, can you use lower speed CF cards, or will it be compatible?
That I don't know. Right now we're just using the couple of CFast cards that we've had and doing all Ultra HD testing. So hopefully by July we'll have that figured out.
Okay. Now for these monitors, these aren't just a display. Like some cameras, they'll have a little LCD here. It's a full legitimate monitor over here.
Yeah, so on here we can go on and we can see our actual display. So if I were using that to actually this is the same on the other side, of course, so if I was actually trying to see my in-frame shot there, I have my normal, what we would consider our normal touchscreen for being able to make my adjustments on here. We have our slate like we would have before for doing all of the metadata. Focus peaking. You can see over here, it's a little easier to see on this monitor for the focus peaking. And then just the basic iris adjustment, so it'll adjust the iris, just like we find on our normal cinema cameras.
All right, so now this is a very different camera than your previous models.
Yeah.
You're going to have some people that are used to that format that you've established.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to look at this and be excited about it, but there are some major differences. Obviously, you have the battery option.
Yep.
Very different. That's a great addition, but there's an additional cost in that. One thing I'm noticing too is the weight on this. Can you talk about how much?
It's about 17 pounds just for the camera, so it is definitely a heavier camera. It's something that you're not, again, it's not necessarily the run and gun, put it on a monopole, run around with. It's either going to be on a tripod, like we said, talking about those zones with maybe multiple people working around, or you're probably going to be putting it on a shoulder for a single operator to work with. So again, it does have a almost different purpose than the current range of cinema cameras that we have. But it's exciting because that does allow for new things to be done with these cameras. We still think that the other cameras are fantastic cameras. They fill a lot of people's needs out there. There is a cost difference, maybe not as dramatic as we'd seen on some other cameras out there in the marketplace, but we're very excited about it, and we think that people will be excited about it, and so far the feedback's been really great for us.
Right. Obviously by having a monitor built into it of that scale, usually you've got the little pop-up LCD, and then you always add your extra monitor.
Yeah.
Like it's never been a thing where you have a legitimate monitor that you can work with. And having that side monitor, again, usually you might have your AC with its own separate monitor over here.
Yeah.
So just by not having that, that's the weight that's going to be not incurred.
Exactly. You're not going to be incurring all that extra weight, but that's also other kit you don't have to buy. Certainly some people are going to want to add extra kit to this. They may want to have the extra EVF if they're doing the shoulder mount. There may be other bits for the audio and the phantom power that they're going to want to be adding extra kit to it. But the idea was, how do we make a full side camera that, if you're just pulling out of the box, is pretty much ready to go? We don't have to add a lot of extra kit to it. You can certainly add a lot of extra kit to it, but we felt like this was a more complete, almost ENG style camera than what you were basically getting out of the box with the current cinema cameras.
Right. Now, let's talk about the current cinema cameras.
Sure.
Those are still viable solutions for
Yep.
people, of course. You guys have done something that's unique that most other camera systems have never done, which is come out with something to market, be able to test the market with product.
Mm-hmm.
Not have to do years of market research, basically do the market research by releasing a product and seeing what people think.
Yep.
So in and of itself, that requires a level of candidness and openness and willingness to perhaps make some mistakes to see what
Yeah.
people are going to say. in my perception, the Blackmagic camera system is still very new. It's very, very innocent, and there's a lot of growing to go with that. There's some people that may be frustrated with that. It may not be meeting every demand that they have. Where are you guys seeing with the feedback that you're getting? Where do you want to go with it?
Yeah, I mean, the feedback's always great for us because, we are a company that does listen to what people are saying. We are trying to continue to not only make fantastic powers. I mean, the only reason we are doing this is to empower people. The reason this camera is $6,000 and not some other amount is because we want to empower people. It's not because we are, just trying to stuff money into our mattresses. We're trying to make these great products for people. Sometimes that means we do have to make sacrifices. For instance, we really did want to have the beta version of the 4K RAW for the current production cameras, but at the end of the day, we couldn't get that done and get everything else that we have here, have a shipping camera at the show with the HD studio camera. And that meant that had to slip, but we're still getting that feature done. It's something we've always wanted to get done, and it will get put in there hopefully within the next few weeks. We have new firmware that's going to be part of that package, which is going to be laying some of the underpinnings for getting all of our software together and on kind of a unanimous scale throughout all of the camera family, so that if we want to add software features there, we don't have to be doing the QC for one camera. We got 7 cameras now. I can't do QC for all these cameras. I need to be able to make sure that it works on one set of code. Obviously, I will QC it across all those cameras, but it needs to be kind of a uniset code there. So we're continuing to work on those other cameras, make improvements, add features, but we are also about creating new products and coming out with new products every year. We're not one to disappoint. So, it's a balancing act, and, sometimes you tip a little too far to one side, got to pull back, got to not fall over too much to the other side. So, we are continuing to balance out, but at the end of the day, we are creating exciting products. We are changing the way people are creating cameras, and it's great to be able to go online and see what people are doing with these tools, and that's rewarding in and of itself. So, yeah, we are definitely feeling our way through the darkness, so to speak, and making sure that we're not trying to lean too far or to just create new products. We continually do look at the big picture, our current users, future users, current product, new product, and that's a balancing act that's very difficult to manage, but we're doing the best we can with it.
So what are some of the new firmware features that you guys are going to be adding to the 2.5?
We have lots of things we want to do, but we never really want to commit to them because that gets people into the I want this and I want it now and when is it going to be. The big one that's coming up is obviously going to be the 4K RAW, and I believe there's a big debayering for the ProRes update in there. And like I said, some of that underpinning of the firmware. But beyond that, yeah, there's lots of things we want to do in there, but our fear is if we start saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then everyone's just going to get a little antsy about when that's going to get done. So again, we have to prioritize all of that, and we don't necessarily want to be held to we said 3 months ago that these softwares were coming. Obviously we want to get great new features into all of those, but we can't always commit to, we already commit to plenty. We don't feel we need to overcommit to everything.
So who do you see overall being the end user for your current lineup of cameras and then this camera system?
I mean, certainly almost every time we talk about who's going to use this camera, we always kind of start with the generic 20-year-old film student. It has to be affordable. It has to be easy to use. It has to be modern. It has to fit into current workflows that are going to be relative to this time. And we almost always start there because that's kind of the baseline. Well, if that guy can't buy it or use it or afford it or work with it, well, then who's it for? The couple of broadcast guys or the couple of each. Just, we want to be talking about people that maybe are not empowered by current sets of products that are out there. So, it's very easy when you say, well, I have a $1,000 pocket camera. Well, who uses that? Anyone who has $1,000 and wants a cinema camera.
Right.
That becomes a lot easier than maybe something like this at $6,000. Well, yes, maybe not every film student is going to be running out to buy this camera, but if they do, they have a camera that they can basically be using indefinitely with upgradability, with the feature set that we provided for them, and that's always kind of our baseline starting point. But of course, filmmakers, guys that are going out and using this on a full production-based level, independent film, this is a perfect market for this camera.
Great. Well, thanks for your time, Dan.
No problem, man.
Special thanks to our sponsors for making our NAB coverage possible.